Hello, Hamish here from mortgagesonline.co.nz. I have actually got Kyle Boonan with me today. Lucky enough to have him join us. He's a building inspector. He's going to share some of his knowledge with us. How are you, Kyle?
Yeah, good, thank you, Hamish. Thanks for having me along tonight.
No, all good, mate. And we're talking about cladding types, right? Some of the things to watch out for. Obviously, you deal with a lot of first home buyers, and you must be coming across a lot of building inspections and different
Yes, yeah,
building types.
absolutely. So, yeah, there's a range of different building types throughout New Zealand. I guess depending on what area you're in, but even what era of a property that you're looking at. So that obviously changes as time goes on, from the early villas with your traditional weatherboard or native timber type cladding. Or like you can see there, just some of the villas and bungalows and the likes. And then it is still a material that is obviously used today in different forms. So the earlier villas were quite wide. They had what they called rusticated or beveled or scallop type features, if you like, cut out of them.
Yep.
Yeah, and they predominantly were native timber, but these days, you very seldom will get a replacement in native, so you can get it run in pine or something else to
Now,
repair.
things to watch out for. So obviously you got weatherboard. It's a favourite of New Zealanders. It's honest. You can see what's good with it, what's wrong with it. But there are some imposters. Probably a little bit before your time, but there is this weatherside cladding, which hardly around these days. But be aware if you see that. Which again, it's a good idea to get a building inspector because it can look similar, but if water gets in it, it can just swell up like wheat bix. Um,
Yeah,
then
absolutely.
there's
Yeah,
PVC, right? How do you feel about this? Some of the
yeah.
stuff is okay, actually. The kind of
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, there's actually quite they put quite a big warranty on some of their products that they use in the more modern products today. There are a few that have covered a number of sins, I suppose. So obviously, an existing property that has maybe issues with its existing cladding, and as opposed to fixing it up and painting it, they might just cover it with something like a cladding like that, and it looks good at face value, and it may well be uh,
well,
suitable for weather for a while. But yeah,
yeah, it's interesting what you say about fixing stuff because we went through what's called the leaky building syndrome, right? And that's these kinds of the
yeah,
plaster
uh,
type stuff, which
it's yeah,
um,
the
sometimes you
plastic
can't you
cladding.
can't see it. It won't obviously look that obvious sometimes, right? Because
Oh, that's good.
you might get it repainted over and stuff, but
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. I mean, obviously, the plastic cladded properties like that, it would be nice if it was black and white, and you could see signs like you can with weatherboards. You can often see rot, or paint's peeling, or moisture issues. But with with the plaster homes, it can be quite challenging. So that's why you really need to engage someone that will do the moisture meter testing and or thermal imagery or the likes to actually see what's going on behind the cladding top.
yeah. And how are you finding in terms of doing building inspections? Do you find things that still surprise you from time to time when you after you do an inspection?
Yeah, so I mean, I've got a number of inspectors that work for our company, and there's definitely things that do pop up. I think that the PVC that you touched on uh, has highlighted a few. At first, people kind of think it's a weatherboard when they maybe put an offer on to only find that it is I guess, a plastic type covering. Now, I've been at the tail end of that, ripping that covering off to find an arranger of sins basically covered over. And I mean, there's things like that. With older homes, it's hard to know what's been done, if you like. So people have, throughout the generations, put their touch on it, changed things, done this, done that, hidden things. So you can open a can of worms if you cover it with a nice cladding type without doing the proper prep in the background. So that's
Yeah, so I think and that's a good thing with the old good old weatherboard, right? Or ideally brick, which is expensive. Um,
yeah,
but it's a bit more. You kind of know what you're working with, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. It's robust. You can kind of see if things have been changed. It's kind of obvious. Whereas even something like plaster, if you get a good plaster, um, it's very hard to see where a repair has been done. You can see real bad ones quite easily.
Yeah.
So things like that. I mean, some cladding types, even like fiber cement, which is another product that you can replace sections, but it could have well been cracked for a while and let moisture in for quite some time. You're
Yeah,
none the wiser because when you go and view it on your open home, it looks good. It's been painted over. That area is repaired, but meanwhile the bottom plate of the walls all rotted out, or you just don't know these days, unfortunately. So yeah,
yeah.
something
Look,
like
I,
yeah,
I think you're right. And again, look, this is very general advice. Each property is very unique, so it's good to get an expert like Kyle involved and do your own due diligence. Because obviously there are people that live quite happily in plaster homes for a long time.
yeah, absolutely.
And I think, yeah, but look, thanks for your time today, Kyle. I think that's been informative, and yeah, um,
No worries. Cool.
uh,
Thanks for having us. And yeah, if anyone needs any assistance, feel free to reach out.
yeah, and what's the best way to find you? What's the website?
It's www.inspecthouse.co.nz,
Yep,
and yeah, follow some prompts there, or have a chat with our team, and they'll be happy to guide accordingly.
cool. Hey, look, thank you for listening, and thanks, Kyle.
No worries.